Checking it. Got the little music going.
Welcome to Conversations for Creatives, where we'll be talking about a lot of different things every Friday right here at noon. Share the feed, share the videos if you're going to be with us today, and some of you guys I know are at work. If you can't attend the whole thing, it's cool. We're also going to be having this on our YouTube, so make sure that you subscribe and like at our YouTube, The Creatives Factory. Just search it up. And everything's red, black, and white, so you can't miss that if it's the channel, because our branding is those colors, and it says The Creatives Factory with our logo. So welcome. And John and I decided that we're going to finally start these videos that we've dreamed up for a couple of years. This has been a journey of transferring a lot of our content and information that we do on a daily basis out onto the world. And we understand that a lot of artists and creatives come to us and they ask for mentorship, they've asked for internships, they've asked for training, teachings, and all that good stuff. And it can get pretty expensive. It can get pretty it could build up with all that cost. So we said, why don't we just put out these videos and people can watch them? And we're going to start off with the lives, where we in these four walls that we have here, we have a lot of conversations birthed from watching our many artists that we love so dearly, and watching them make mistakes that we've made over and over again, or watching them make a mistake that if they would have just talked to us simple, we could have helped and avoided the loss of money or time or efforts, and keep people focused. So these conversations are birthed from a lot of the things that we do here currently at the Creatives Factory. And so welcome. And today we're going to be talking...
Well, first of all...
Oh, okay. Wait.
First of all, so this is our first live, and super excited. If you've got questions, put it in the comments below. So we've got things that we want to talk about. We've got things that are always on our minds, but this is Conversations for Creatives. So we want you to invite anybody that you think needs guidance or wants to have a conversation or has things on their mind. We have things that we want to talk about, but we also want to have a conversation with you. So we can see all of the questions. If you put it in the comments, if you've got things that you want to talk about, if you react to anything that we're talking about, that you want to just give your 2 cents, you've got ideas, you've got thoughts, just please comment, let us know what you want us to talk about. Also, when we post, feel free to comment on other things that you want us to talk about. We work with a lot of artists here at the Creatives Factory, and we know some of the challenges that they have, but we also want to hear from you. Like, what are the challenges that you as a creative have in your music? Your challenges might be different, but your challenges might resonate with somebody else that is having the same challenges. I think when I talk to artists, a lot of it, they feel like they're having unique challenges. They feel like, okay, well, I'm the only one dealing with this thing. And I remember being in college, and I went to North Texas, and I remember going in, and it was just like, oh my God, I'm the only one that feels intimidated. I'm the only one that feels whatever. And then once you get to senior year, you're like, oh, all of you felt the exact same thing that I felt. So I think that's why I'm excited about this kind of series, because it's active. It's what are you dealing with right now? Today, we're in November of 2021, and the challenges in the music industry are different than they were 5 years ago, than they were 10 years ago. And every week, something could happen this next week that changes the industry. A new app could be developed. Spotify could do something crazy. And we want to have these conversations to navigate it together. So make sure you're commenting. Make sure you can hear us okay. Also, let us know. And yeah, I'm excited about today?
So today we're gonna, as my mentor has defined it for me, it's like knowing the why behind the what. A lot of people and a lot of artists specifically focus on the what and not the why. And when you can define the why, all the what parts align themselves up to that why. So the what would be like what you're doing, what executing music, doing music, you know, that's your what, that's your doing every day, the daily. But your why has to be very defined, because that will tell you, okay, this is the level that I'm going to operate in, or this is these are my goals, you know. So a lot of artists don't focus on why, and we have these conversations like, why are you doing music? Like, why exactly do you want to produce, or why exactly do you want to manage, or why exactly do you want to write songs? What is the main idea, your big picture? Why do you do this? And I think, you know, we've had these conversations with a lot of these younger artists, and many of them can't really answer that question. You know, it's like, or they have 4 or 5 responses to it. And, you know, it's like, for me, as a young artist, when I was, you know, a teenager, my why was, I want to be famous and I want to get out of here and I want to tell everybody that doesn't believe in me, like, screw y'all. And that's not a very healthy why. But I lived so many years fighting for it. Back in the day, the record label situation and the music industry was a whole different monster. And my why wasn't defined. So when I got to the point of artistry, that I was actually producing music and doing music, I found that I don't want to do the same music. I don't want to do just pop. I don't want to do just jazz. I don't want to do just R&B. I don't want to do just Latin. And so it kind of, that feeling of producing was more of a thing for me. So I realized that I should produce, and that's where my happy place is. Now, do I like to perform? Absolutely. I got a lot of things that I like to do, but because I didn't have my why, I focused on a lot of different things that were a lot of wasted time. And so knowing your why is really, really, really important. And I guess you can say, like, well, how do I get to my why? You know, and John, what do you think?
Yeah, we're making sure that you guys can hear me okay, making sure the audio is good, because we want to have a good why here. Okay, so cool. All right, so the why. I think that we have this idea of, one of the conversations that I have with a lot of artists is, you know, that same question, the why. Why are you doing music? Why are you doing this? Because music is it is a passionate thing. It's something that we grow up all liking. The idea of, well, I'm doing music because I like music. Well, I mean, we all love music. That's not unique.
It's not a legit why. You know, like, everybody likes it.
That's not a unique thing to, well, I'm doing it because I love music. But I mean, I personally love a lot of other things. I love artwork. But I'm not a painter. I'm just not a painter. I've never done that. There is no why in that for me. I can appreciate it, but whenever I ask that question of, well, why are you doing music? Usually some of the responses that I get is, well, because I like it. And it's like, okay, well, we all like it. So it's not super like a deep reason of why.
A driving force.
A driving force, yeah. That's a way better way of saying it, a driving force. The other one that I get a lot is, well, because I don't know how to do anything else. And you would learn to do something else. You would survive. You would figure out something else. And honestly, that's kind of selling yourself short a little bit, because I think as musicians, we can also do a lot of other things. As creative individuals, there's so many other things that we can get to. So that's not really a driving force. I love that word. I love that specifically, like the driving force. And so everybody's whys are different. I think for me personally, when I was coming up, I started playing music when I was 8. And I loved the idea of creating with people. And something that's been a driving force, and I say this personally, it's kind of been and Chris has heard me say this a gazillion times, but one of my personal driving forces in music is I want to create something that wasn't in the world before that. I want to create something that didn't exist before. And when I look at the producers that I look up to, I look at somebody like Pharrell, I look at somebody like George Martin from the Beatles, I look at these people that put something in the world that wasn't there before. And that's a very different thing than why I just want to make this kind of music. And I don't think it's a better or worse, because for example, if there's a producer, if there's an artist that, okay, well, I want to write country ballads that are gonna make you cry because that's what's meaningful to me. That I don't think that's a less worthy or more worthy of, I want to do something that wasn't there before. I want to create a genre that wasn't there before, make the genre look a little bit different. And so for me, that's my driving force personally, and that drives a lot of the decisions that I choose to make in terms of how I interact with music. And what I mean by that is for example, the artists that I listen to and the artists that I choose to say, okay, these people are going to influence me. And I look at people that are, the way that I say it is people that go to the edge of the cliff and make music or make art that is just, there's no way any of that is listenable. But you come back with something that, okay, I saw the edge of the world and I came back. I don't think every creative has to necessarily do that, but that is, for me, a driving force in my why. So with talking about why, Chris and I were talking about essentially how why will guide what your goals are and what your actions are in what you're doing, in terms of, if your why is, I want to sit and write songs that are gonna make somebody cry, and whatever that is, like I see myself in 5 years or in 10 years, playing at the Bluebird Cafe in Nashville and just playing a song that everybody in the room is going to go home and rethink their entire life. Mm-hmm. There are artists that's gonna guide so much of the process. That's mm-hmm. gonna guide how I choose to write my songs, what instrumentation I choose to produce my songs, who am I listening to, what circles of people I'm around even. Yeah. So I think that defining the why influences so much of everything else. And I don't know that a lot of artists are having that conversation with themselves.
Right. And I also think that a lot of people put the cart before the horse and start making goals and start doing things and start executing stuff without defining the why. And I've seen this happen quite a bit when they're through their journey, and all of a sudden it's like, well, this is not really what I wanted to do. I want to do this, or I'm writing these ballads and singing these slow songs, but I really don't want to do coffee shops. I want to do something bigger. Well, if you don't produce something bigger, or if you don't make something bigger, you're never going to get there. You're going to have these singer-songwriter stuff that eventually maybe could turn into great pop songs. But if you don't know your why, you're going to be doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, which is the definition of a crazy person. Mm-hmm. So know why you're doing something. Know what does that look like? Well, if my why is I want to be a pop star, or I want to be a country singer, or I want to be a hip hop, you know,
or I want to be
artist.
known as a songwriter specifically. I want to be known as a lyricist.
Not necessarily even a front person. You can be behind the scenes. If you, I want to be a manager. So if any of those things, when you define that, then you can really focus, because it does you no good to say I want to be a pop star and I want to produce my own music. That's more defined, because like most pop stars have 8 writers and have other producers. That's the world of that. But if you want to be the person that produces and be known for that, then okay, well, now I know my why, and I should probably get some music theory under my belt if I'm gonna do this right. Because some people's like, well, I can play these 4 chords, and I'm like, okay, well, yeah, you're okay. That does not take you to the top. That's not gonna make you the best anything, because 4 chords is worthless. Everybody can regurgitate 4 chords, and so what? Like, if you want to do stuff that, like John, says is innovative, going to the edge of the world and realizing this is not it, or going to all the edges of the world and realizing those were not it, takes, you need a different type of vehicle. You need a boat. You need a plane. You need a car. Yeah. And if you have 4 chords, you basically have a skateboard. Like, that has nothing of no value. So like being able to handle and manage and say, okay, well, I'm pretty good with theory, and now are you a good lyricist? Mm-hmm. Oh, you can't write songs? Okay, well then how are you gonna get there now?
So 4 chords is not meaningless to certain things, but it's meaningless depending on the goal.
On the why.
On the why. Because if your why is, I'm not trying to be an artist, I want to write songs that I can give to a Nashville artist. Cool. They say
chords are good.
Yeah, they say country is 3 chords and the truth, right? So if that's your why, me personally, the part of music that I personally interact with, just me personally, is chord progressions. Like when I hear Stevie Wonder, there's a Stevie Wonder song called Summer Soft, and it's on Songs in the Key of Life, and he goes through so many chord changes. He changes keys on all of these things. And for me, when I'm speaking very specifically about me. When I hear that, it's like, oh my God, that is my personal whoa. I don't personally interact with lyrics on the first time around when I listen to a song. And so that's not the thing that gets me. For me personally, it's usually the chord progression, which is why I love Beatles, which is why I love Radiohead, which is, when you get to Paranoid Android and it's going all over the place, that's the thing that gets me. Now, if that's not the thing that gets you, if that doesn't drive your why, if it's lyrics, then
focus on that.
Then focus on that.
Be a good lyricist.
You focus on being a good lyricist, and then you study. At that point, you should be.
Yeah, you should be doing the techniques of poetry.
Exactly.
Of literature.
Exactly.
Not like, I want to write a song. I'm going to go listen to all of Tupac stuff. Great. Or, anything that Benny Blanco did. Okay, that's awesome. But they didn't get there because they were just studying one person. Literature is the foundation. Knowing, having a vocabulary.
Yeah.
Like if you're using the same lines in 4 different songs, I'm gonna call you out on it. Like I know that. And I'm probably not gonna be a fan. Like if you're literally a wordsmith, that intrigues me, because I'm like John. I'm a musician first, and then on the second layer, I'll listen to the lyrics. But I know good lyrics because we've been in the music industry, and I'm like, man, I hear this one lyric, and I'm like, wow, like that. I would have never thought of expressing that this way.
Yeah.
And when you can bring that out of me, and I've lived quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it's good, but that doesn't come from studying 10 songs or 100 songs. It comes from songwriting techniques. It comes from attending symposiums, getting with other songwriters that are amazing and better than you, and being okay with being the smallest person in the room, where you're like, I don't want to put my lines out there because
Yeah.
I might get judged. Get judged. Like,
Well,
get judged.
and that research of when you were talking about the wordsmith thing, that word specifically, I look at the wordsmiths of, you know, of our era, and you look at somebody like Bob Dylan, you look at somebody like Joni Mitchell, you look at all of these people,
Carole King,
and all of these people were reading, you know, different, like Bob Dylan was, he's known as a lyricist. He's known for those lyrics that just get you. And I guarantee you, he was reading literature. He was reading poetry. He's reading all of these people. And I can tell when I'm listening to a good lyricist, they're reading Walt Whitman. They're reading, you know,
Right.
all of these authors because they're going in there and grabbing that. They're going to that edge and then coming back with something, because you're obviously not going to put a Walt Whitman, you know, story as a song because it's too many words, but you're going to go to the edge of that and come back. One thing that, so we got a question. So Eric Bayard asked, how does going to the edge and attempting something new, allow you to, like, how can you do that and still kind of stay in your own theory and still stay in this, which is something else that I wanted to talk about, which is the question of how do you, if you don't know your why, how do you get your why? Because we're talking about you should know your why, but what if you don't know your why? And for me, that is, I call it going to the forest. So a movie that I love is 300. I'm very famously a Zack Snyder fan. And one of his big movies was 300. And at the beginning of the movie, there's a scene where it's the king that he's being trained as a kid because he's being trained to be the king. And then they send him out into the forest with just nothing. And if he's able to come back, having survived that forest, then he comes back with experience. He comes back with the ability to hunt, the ability to take care of himself, and now he's ready to be king. So when these questions of how do you get to your why, how do you go to that edge, I look at it as the forest thing. And so the question has to be asked, have you gone to your forest first? Have you gone to your, before I start, if I don't know my why, have I written 100 songs to see what parts of music I like? Have I tried writing country? Have I tried writing pop? Have I tried writing this? Have I done all of these other things to figure out what my why is? Have I spent time on my own figuring out what my why is, figuring out what I like, figuring out what moves me, figuring out what it is that I'm about, and then coming back from that, I don't want to say isolation, but self-discovery is probably a better
And
word.
I'm going to interject there because a lot of people think they like music and they go into the forest and say, I don't really like this. I don't like this. And then if you're wired to your music and discovering that why, like for example, my why has changed quite a bit. My why has changed from, I want to be famous as a 16, 15-year-old to I literally feel like music brings healing. And when I interact with my artists, there's this very special bond and a lot of growth that happens. And because I'm good with my what, which is producing, the why with these people are being discovered along the way, and that's a passion of mine. So that's my why. Why? Because I get to work with people that maybe need a little bit of tweaking in the sense of direction, and instead of telling you direction, I kind of make you question yourself. But my why is I love watching people and young artists flourish. That is a passion, a direct passion of mine. And if I can do this for a living, that's even better. So my why is not, I want to make pop music, or I can make country music, I mean jazz music. We can make any type of music, and I feel my passion being fulfilled because my why is music brings healing and elevates a person. And there's so much being spilt in a songwriting session. And it's almost like therapy. And I think that's a bigger why than just, oh, I want to make a hit song. I don't really care about making a hit song. If it goes big, if it's on television, which we do have a lot of songs on television and on Netflix and all this other stuff. Check our website out if you are curious about that. But the honest of it is my passion drives my why, and I love watching people heal. So if you go into the forest and you realize I need to kill animals and I need to eat and this kind of sucks. I don't like this. I'd rather be in the castle eating. Okay, well, then being in the forest was not for you, and you probably don't need to be the ruler of this kingdom.
Yeah.
And that's okay if you don't like to get your hands dirty or all of that. So said all that to say this: in your journey of 10,000 hours,
Yeah.
not 1,000, 10,000 hours, you're gonna discover and be directed into like, oh man, this music theory thing's a little hard, or
Or I don't care about it that much.
yeah. And it's cool, like it's not a bad thing.
Because there's that's one of the cool things about music. One of the really interesting things about music and art in general is how somebody can. Okay, so one of my favorite painters is Jackson Pollock. And when I look at his paintings, you've probably seen his stuff. It's very like just paint everywhere, thrown everywhere. But when I see some of his paintings, it does something to me. And I could walk by that same painting and somebody else walk by that exact same painting and say, don't really care about that. And I have that same thing. I've got a couple of friends that I'm not going to call them out, but there's artists for me that I'm just like, this artist just does everything to me. And they change my life every time I listen to them. And then I'll show them, so excited. I'll show that artist to a friend of mine and they're just like, it wasn't relatable to me. It didn't grab me. And so you don't necessarily have to care about the things that I personally care about. Your forest doesn't have to look like my forest. But I have to know what my forest looks like. And I also think that that's something that maybe artists deal with is they're stepping into other people's forests and kind of like going there. And it's like, I feel like I should care about this, but I don't.
Well, and here's what I told one of my young artists. If you don't know what you want to do, someone will tell you what to do. So if you don't know what you want, in your journey, people will tell you what they want for you. And you have to define that, what part of the forest am I going to play in? And be okay with that. Like, but also be okay with doing things that you don't like to do. Like a lot of people, I hear it a lot in my culture of leadership because I have circles of mentorship. This is and I share this with my artists all the time. There's a lot of have-tos. Listen to me, guys. There are a lot of have-tos before you get to your get-tos. Now, like, I get to be on this stage in front of an arena. That requires a lot of have-tos.
Yeah.
And I have this conversation and finding your passion and defining your why comes with a lot of have-tos. I'm gonna say it again. There's a lot of have-tos before you get to your get-tos. So when someone gets on the stage and they fill an arena, they're not hopping around doing the same thing over and over for an hour and a half. Nobody wants to see that. They've got choreographers, they've got stage presence coaches, they've got to learn how to use in-ear monitors. They got to learn how to work with a click track. They got to learn transitions. They got to know what happens if the sound goes off. What are you going to do? How are you going to move an arena if all the sound goes off? Like that comes with a lot of experience that may look like going to a lot of coffee shops. That may look like graduating to small venues. That may look like ending up on a Live Nation mini tour. That may look like going to high schools and performing. It looks like it's a journey. You're not gonna get to a huge venue, and then everything goes off, and you're gonna stand there knowing, like, looking like, what do I do now? You have to entertain.
Yeah.
And that is your main goal.
Yeah.
So, and again, if you're gonna be a performer, if you're gonna be a
If you're
songwriter,
gonna be a performer,
if you're gonna be a
100%.
songwriter, you don't have any of those
Yeah.
issues. Your issues as a songwriter will be, I need to network with someone that's bigger than me, and I need to get in that room and be confident in that room. So when you're in that room, okay, I have all this vocabulary embedded inside my being. I have all these melodies that come out of me and exude me that are not gonna happen overnight. That's gonna happen because I know an instrument. Oh, wait, I gotta learn piano. These are all have-tos before you get in a room of get-tos. And if you don't focus and be okay with all the things you don't want to do, you're gonna find yourself switching passions continuously. You're gonna find yourself saying, like, well, I don't really know what to do, or how can I be this, and how can I, like, focus on something, and back to Eric, go to the edge, be okay with going to the edge and finding all these have-tos that you're not liking, and then when you get there, it's like, yeah, this is not it, but you learned a lot on the way.
Yeah.
You picked up some things along the way. You picked up, like, talents along the way and wisdom along the way, and now maybe you can transfer it over to another journey. And why is that so important? Because if you only follow one journey, you're not putting anything new in the world.
Yeah.
You're regurgitating.
Well,
and fusions and bringing in, maybe I went through 4 edges of the world in different forests. Now I can put these together, and all of a sudden there's a fusion sound or a blended sound, a sound that's a little bit different, but it's familiar from over here, but it's familiar from over here, and you rise up to another level. You go to that next place, and that's, I feel, like, again, what John said, it's a sense of discovery. It's a place of discovery, putting yourself and your mind in being okay with discovering yourself and sculpting yourself, just in that, like, you're not gonna be a masterpiece as an artist, because you're also a work of art. You're not gonna be that if someone's not chiseling you.
Yeah.
If you don't allow voices in your life to guide you, now there's a difference between someone telling you what to do and someone making you think, and then reminding you who you are, reminding you that you are great, but these things that you're doing are not great. Now, these are things I've done with artists over and over and over and over again, and I've had some artists that come and they are pitchy, and I'm like, oh wow, like, I'm not gonna put anybody out there, but John has watched this over and over, and then all of a sudden, 2-3 years later, and now that's a submission. A 2 or 3 year journey of submission is, I'm gonna trust this person because this person has wisdom, has knowledge, has technique, has something I can learn from you. Align yourself, and I think that's what even John said earlier. Your alignments are everything. Who you align yourself to, like, you say, that person over there, they look like they got it together. So let me get near them. Let me ask them questions. They look like they know what their why is. They definitely, their what is functioning.
Well,
it's
and
huge.
And that's the people around you. Also, I look at relationships and community as, I always say that, like, your friends are your mirrors. Your friends are the people that show you who you actually are, who you really are, especially those real people around you. And it's the whole, like, everybody says this, the whole like, your friend, like, you know who you are because of who your friends are, or that, whatever that saying goes.
You're the sum of the 5 people.
Yeah.
5 people you hang out with, you're the total sum parts.
And the reason with that is that the people that you're putting yourself with, they're gonna have different whys than you are. But it's the same thing with it. It's different going to the gym and there's nobody there, and there's difference going to the gym when there's a bunch of other people there. Where all of those different people have different goals and they have different whys of why they're there. But the fact that you're seeing people with a why helps you realize, okay, well, what is my why? What is my thing? And those relationships, whether they are inside of the music industry, or whether they're outside, whether they're artists and painters and leaders and entrepreneurs, and all of these people are helping you define, why am I doing what I'm doing? Because if I don't have my why defined, if I don't know why it is that I'm doing what I'm doing, this is something that I will guarantee you, technique and the actions alone without a why aren't going to be enough mentally. Actions, you're going to go through the motions, and it's very easy. If we could tell you, do this, do this, do this, do that. If you're going to release a song, do this, do this, do this, do that, do that, do that. This is what has to happen. But if you don't know why you're doing it, that action and that repetitive action is not going to be fueled by anything. And so
and when you don't see the results you're trying to see.
And even sometimes when you do see the results and it was the wrong why, or you didn't have a why defined, it's not fulfilling. It's not, it really isn't hard to be successful. Obviously defining what success means to you, but it isn't hard to be successful, but your why in what that looks like is going to be defined very specifically. And so
if you don't have your why solid, consistency will go out the window. So if you get tired of your why or the consistency there, you're not seeing the results, your why has to carry you through the dry spells.
Yeah.
It has to carry you through the difficult times, or when you're not seeing, I posted something, I got 3 likes. Well, your why is bigger than your 3 likes. Your why is bigger than anything and everything that is negative, that is not rendering the results you want. Your why will drive you to figure it out.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the why figured out, then that's an issue. So what we're saying is, when you see someone that's successful and you see them happy, don't go to someone that's successful and is miserable.
Yeah.
That's someone that knows how to make money. That's someone that knows how to build something and is okay
That's
with
a great goal setter and accomplishes their goals.
And for me, and I think for a lot of people in music, because we all know that the music industry is tough and it's not like everyone's banking off of the music situation. So your why has to carry you through the place until you monetize. And that may be 500 videos later. That may be, for 500 videos, you saw 20 views. But then that one was so good on the 501, and your why of why you do this. Because let's be honest, if you're doing videos and you're doing them alone, because this can get really expensive, you have to set up lights, you have to put up a camera, you have to all by yourself. And sometimes it's like lonely and it's like, well, I don't want to do this anymore. Well, then your why is not really defined.
Yeah.
Because if it were, you would get up, you'd do it over and over and over and over again. And when 501 video pops off, now people that have discovered you are like, there's 500 videos that I can sit with this artist with and I can fall in love with it. Because I'm going to say this, like, nobody cares about your music. Nobody cares about your music. No one cares about your music. What they care about is you. They want to fall in love with the artist, and if you're not putting stuff out there, I say this all the time. It's like, well, I don't know. I can't put it like Lizzo don't care. Lizzo don't care what she looks like. I love Lizzo, and I love that I get to know Lizzo. And there's other people that like, okay, I was a stripper. Cardi B. Anybody out there, like you see Tom York. I mean, like all these people. He's older now. He don't care. Like all these people put themselves out there, and we get to fall in love with the person to the point where it doesn't matter what they put. Like if Tom York puts out anything, I'm gonna have and listen to it probably for that month over and over until it's like I drive it into the ground.
And so with I wanted to jump on this 500 videos and then 501, the one that pops up. If you get to 200 videos and you are like, there's a really good question that I want to get to here. If you get to 200 videos and you're like, what I care about is my songs and not necessarily about me singing my songs or me singing those songs or me being the artist that sings those songs, then don't get to the 500th video. That's not your lane. Like if you realize along the way, okay, I'm not the artist. I realize I'm not the artist. I don't want to be the artist, because being an artist is a whole thing. If you say, I want to be the artist, now you're saying, all right, what comes with being an artist? It's the videos, it's the visuals, your brand, it's all of this. And that's a whole road. And if you get to your 200th video and you're like, that's not what makes me happy. What makes me happy is the time where I'm sitting down and writing this lyric and I don't really care if I'm singing it. Stop that 200th video and now go back and go write 500 songs that you're going to shop around.
I have a great example of that. I had an artist that I work with. She was like 11. I love when parents put in the funds to help their young people discover who they are, because the faster you discover what your why is, the more you can move. Because at 11 to like about 15, she was training as an artist and going hard. And at 15, she was like, I want to teach. Okay, well that's cool too. You know, like she's like, I don't want to be on a stage. And so much had been invested, but you know what? That investment is not, you can't measure it, because helping someone discover what they want to do is probably one of the best things that you can do for your child or for yourself at the earliest age. So like if you've gone through the artist track and you're like, yeah, I don't want to be an artist, I want to be a teacher. Do that. Like whatever you can wake up to every day and smile and be happy and like go to every single day, do that, because it's gonna keep you young. It's gonna help you relax, be stressless. Now, is there stress within that? There is, but it's not. And this is a good place to answer this question from Vanalika. Vanalika asks, "What if two whys overlap?" Well, my personal opinion is, hopefully those whys are like those circles where it's like, okay, some of these things kind of overlap and they go together. But like in my personal opinion, if you're doing, okay, I'm gonna do music, but I want to have a doctor, that's like doing this. It's like, okay, I'm gonna put 1 foot here forward, and then I'm gonna put 1 foot here forward, put 1 foot here, and they're pole to pole, and all of a sudden you're gonna fall on your face. They're two different. Hopefully, like, okay, I want to be a songwriter and I want to do this, or I want to be a musician and I want to help starvation end in the world. Like, you can find a way to get music to fund and help people that are starving, because it goes together in a passion. So my personal thing is, if you have two whys, are they technical or are they passion? The passion driven ones you can usually match and find a way to discover, which is always really, really cool, because music kind of enhances almost everything. And so like, if like, oh, I have a passion in film, okay, how about you write the music for your film?
Yeah,
it goes, you can do it, you can make that happen. So
I was having a conversation with a friend of mine with Vanalika's question, with what happens if you have multiple whys. Okay, this is something for me personally that I've struggled with, specifically in music, because I like so many things. I really do enjoy, everything. Like, I could go from one day to, yesterday I was listening to like classical minimalist pieces, and then this morning I was listening to Radiohead, and I'm like, ooh, I want to make that, because I went to college for composition, and it's like, man, I want to write like a minimalist piece. And then in college I did choral pieces, and I've done film music, and I've done that side of it. But then it's like, but I also like the indie pop stuff, and then I like the R&B stuff. I like this and that. So I had a conversation with an artist this week with my friend Moses Uvier, and it was a great conversation about kind of this specific thing. And I came away with that conversation with 4 things, okay? And I probably should make a video about these 4 things.
We probably will.
We probably will. But, and this is super transparent, super real with yourself time, okay? So this may not be what you want to hear, but these are the 4 takeaways, okay? So when you're trying to define essentially what you should be doing in terms of, okay, which one of these things should I gravitate towards? There's one of the great things about being in the music industry right now is there are so many positions available to you that weren't really there before. And I think songwriters and musicians and creatives are starting to become more aware of, where it isn't just, okay, I want to do music and the only thing is, okay, I'm going to be a rock star. And it's like, no, there's so many things. You can be a publisher, you could be an A&R person, you could be a manager, you could be, there's all of these things. You could be a songwriter, you could be an arranger, you could be, there's so many, an engineer, a session musician. And so 4 things. The first thing that has to define it is what you like to do. I feel like it always has to start there because
you have to enjoy it.
You have to enjoy it. You have to enjoy what you do. So you've got to like, what is the thing that I like to do? There are things that in my career in music, I'm good at doing, but I don't necessarily love to do. And so that's not my central why or the thing, my driving force. So what is it that I like to do? What is it that I'm good at doing? And that's the
naturally good at.
Well, naturally good at, and that I can, naturally good at.
Because sometimes
you can get good at something.
You can get good at something, you don't like it.
But what am I naturally good at? What are my actual giftings? And this is where, one, having friends and having honest friends will help you out, because you could like singing, but you might not be a good singer. Now, can you develop that? 100%. You might not be a good insert thing here. And you've got to be honest with yourself with that, because there's a lot of things that I like to do, but I am not good at. That's not my gifting.
Right.
And so I've got to say, all right, I went to step 2. I like doing this, but I'm not good at it. Okay, that's probably not it.
Now, pause real quick. If you're not good at something, you can align yourself with someone that's good at something.
Yeah.
And they can carry some of that weight.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, I'm not good at that, I'm going to quit right here.
Yeah.
No, like, think creatively. You're creative. How can I make this? I like this. I'm not good at this. So
and you can get good at it.
You can. It might take you a little time, but if you are good at networking and getting with people and a people person, you can advance even though you're not good at something. You might be understanding a little bit of how that, whatever that is. But if you align yourself, for example, I've aligned myself with a guy named Ed, and he's a great videographer.
Incredible videographer.
I don't know jack about video, but he does. So why am I gonna go and try to figure this out and watch like 20 million videos to try to make this setup look good? He's behind the camera, by the way. So if you're on Ed Productions, follow him. But
Ed Rosario
Productions. He's shameless plug. I'm not gonna go do that. I know what I want to see. I may know how to. I'm a great communicator, but spending another 10,000 hours at a craft that I don't need to?
Yeah.
No, align yourself. So I like video. Am I good at it? No. I find someone that's good at it.
Okay, so do I like it? Am I good at it? And again, with the good one, am I good at it? Should I get good at it, or should I align myself with something that somebody that's good at it? But okay, let's say I'm good at it, or I got good at it. Because it can be, well, I'm not a good songwriter, but I can become a good songwriter, okay? The third thing is, what's something that I like to do, that I'm good at doing, and that I've been successful at doing, okay? So there are things that I like to do that I'm good at, but they may not be commercially successful. There is music that I've probably made that I loved, that I was good at, but was not commercially successful.
Don't monetize.
That it doesn't monetize, and that's fine. But if I'm looking at a career in that, and there's parts of it where I like, but it's not successful, maybe that's not the thing. And I've got to be honest with myself. What is my moneymaker essentially? Like, what are the things that I've been successful at? And
Can we share the intake story?
Oh, 100%. So my first band was called Intake. You can still find it on SoundCloud. Now, I am super proud of Intake, all right? I'm super proud of that music. I liked
Specifically album 1.
I liked it. I was good at it. It was good music. It was not bad music. It was good music. It was technically good. It could have been mixed better, but it wasn't a bad mix. It was good master. It was good.
And it took how long, Tim?
It took like 11 years. but I liked it, which is, again, that's your foundation. You've got to stand on that. I liked it. I enjoyed it, and I still enjoyed it, and I wouldn't trade making that because I personally found joy in that. I was good at it. The performances on the record are good. The music is good. The technical, you're not gonna listen to the record. There's no like wrong notes on the record.
None.
So it's good. Was it successful? Is that where I found my success? No.
Pause. It was successful. It was a huge school for John.
100%.
And he learned so much creating that album, from mixing to creating to balancing sound to learning that sounds should all have a place in a song. I witnessed it, and because it took so long, I think there was a point where I told John, if you continue and you don't put it out, my portion of support ends right here. And I was like, you need to put it out. However, I'm gonna tell you this before you put it out. Every one of these songs I can easily make 5 songs out of.
And those songs.
So the album would have been like 50.
Yeah, I would have still been writing career of that. So, but it wasn't in when we're talking about like commercially successful, because the truth of it is, we're sitting here talking about, and probably why you're watching and why you're tuning in is because, okay, cool, how do I turn my passion into a career, right? So this is why that third thing is important. What do I like to do? Because if I'm successful at something and I hate doing it, you're gonna have a horrible life, because you're gonna keep getting asked to write a song that you don't like to do. I don't want to be known personally, and I'm okay with shooting myself in the foot and cutting this community off. I'm never going to be known as the norteño guy, okay? That's just not me. That's not what I like to listen to. I don't think that the music is bad.
And there's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with it. That's not my personal passion. If you've seen my Instagram and you see my room, my studio room, it's like synth central. So like, I'm not really gonna make a lot of norteño records on a profit. Anyways, so what are you successful at? We're talking about trying to make a career in music. So what do you like? What are you good at? What has been successful for you? If you've released 10 songs and you realize, oh, this one song people super resonate with, and I liked it. So it isn't that you're going to just be a drone and just make the same boring song over again, but there's something there that you should have the people around you saying, hey, there's something there. How can you continue to explore that world?
Yeah.
And so this is also where your alignments and where the people around you should be able to say, man, out of these 10 songs, that doesn't mean that you can't do the other, I like it and I'm good at it, but it wasn't commercially successful. You can still do those. 100%. Yeah. You should still do those. But realize that may not be where be honest with yourself. That may not be where where
Monetizations.
that may not be the song that I make a music video for. That 7-minute journey into musical nirvana, that may not be the one that I shoot a video to. So be really honest with yourself. And then the fourth thing, so what do I like to do? What am I good at doing? What's been successful? Be honest with yourself. Don't kid yourself. We're like, oh yeah, this song is successful. If you think it's successful and somebody else tells you, and 50 other people tell you, no, that song wasn't successful, be honest with yourself. It's a hard pill to swallow. I've learned to swallow it. You'll be fine. The fourth thing is, what is the thing that you like, that you're good at, that you're successful, and that is unique, that is not happening in the rest of the world of music? Where is the crowd, and where is there a gap that you can fill? And so a great example of this is Billie Eilish's huge record, right? Music that they liked. They were good at making it. It was successful, and it filled a very specific pocket of the music industry that nobody was populating. Nobody was making music like that. Mm-hmm. And so that takes the successful part to somewhere else. So to kind of cap Vanalika's question to the end is, put the things that you're making, put the different passions that you have. And it isn't that you eliminate your passions. We're not talking about eliminating your passions.
Prioritize.
But you're prioritizing your passions. One of my favorite bands is Incubus, and lead singer Brandon Boyd is an incredible artist, incredible visual artist. But his career is, his priority is as a singer and as a songwriter. And he never stopped making his art. He never stopped painting. He never stopped doing that. And you'll notice that a lot of musicians, they still have their other passions, but you learn to prioritize the things that you like, that you're good at, that have brought you success, and that are unique populate a very unique place in whatever area of creativity that you're into. So what you like, what you're good at, what you're successful at, and what's unique.
Now we had 3 points today, and the first is, the why, and then how to figure out your why. I feel like we've kind of exposed a couple of things that'll help you do that. But I don't want to, and we're trying to keep this at an hour, but I don't want to dismiss this last one, because right now actually there's a trend where it's like mental health for men, and in this industry, a lot of people that are in the industry are men, and we're thankful for the women brains that are in this industry, because they bring a whole different light. But mental health, period, sometimes gets in the way of finding your why. And so having and knowing where you are with mental health, and analyzing, and maybe some of you guys that watch this are going to watch this, don't know what that looks like. And I didn't know what that looks like. I mean, my emotions, sadly enough, until about maybe 8 to 10 years ago, were a very driving force in what I did. And John can attest to that, because we've been in music business for almost 20 years now. Almost, not yet, but almost 20 years. We've been business partners. So I had to align myself with someone that I saw that was, for me, mentally healthy. And not just one person, but several people that I saw, okay, this person's even kill. They're kind of like make decisions through critical thinking, and these are things I didn't know. And so, I'm putting myself out there in the sense of like, I did not know how to do that. And if something affected me emotionally, I would react and make a very rash or quick decision that affected sometimes many, or affected my path. And that's because mental health had to happen and heal me. And I think that's why one of my biggest passions is the healing that music brings, and I'm very about it. And it drives me to get into any genre, because if I like an artist and I feel like I can contribute to that person, from music to health, mental health, and just emotional health and spiritual health, I'll reach out. And so knowing that mental health is important is what can you do to become better. And what that means is like, okay, I have resources, there's books, I have people, I have doctors, I have mentors, I have so many things that have accessible to me that could help me be a better person, be a better thinker, be a better leader. Because one of the things, and let me make this really clear, guys, in any avenue that you get to, whether you're going to be a songwriter and a great songwriter, that's your goal. If you're going to be a producer and you're going to be a great producer, and that's your goal, which it should be, because who wants to be a mediocre songwriter? Who wants to be no one wakes up in the morning saying, I want to be a producer and be
subpar.
So if you say, oh, I'm gonna be a producer, hopefully in your mind, in what I'm talking about, I'm gonna be the best producer. I'm gonna be a great producer, at least, on the level that operates in many platforms or many cities that, as a goal. So before that, you're a leader. Okay, you're a leader. And it's like, well, nobody's following me. No, you're leading yourself. First, the first person that you're leading is yourself. You lead yourself on a daily basis to make many decisions. So if you're not thinking that way, then that's where you say, okay, let me step back, and I'm exposing this because there's not a lot of people talking about this in this industry. You are a leader. Why do I say this? Because on the next level, if you want to be a big artist, then you have a staff. You're on a tour. And everyone looks to you. If you don't believe me, go look at Billie Eilish's documentary, Justin Bieber's, Madonna's, whoever you want that has a behind the scenes documentary, and you'll see that right before the show, the person that talks and encourages everybody about the show is the artist. There's a huge circle, and they say, "I'm very thankful for you." Something to this effect. "I'm very thankful for you. You guys are amazing. Justin Bieber or Billie Eilish is not just me, it's all of you." Those are leadership qualities. And if you can't get out of your head of just your little world and not realize that there's a whole business, that there are Excel spreadsheets, that there is money to be accounted for, that there are investors, that there's a lighting guy that's climbing up 50 feet that could fall off and maybe die on your clock and you don't have insurance, like those are things that as a leader, that right now, as you're developing, you need to think forward. And you can't think forward if mentally you're thinking backwards. And I'm gonna let that sink in for a little bit. If you're thinking backwards, because I've been reading a lot of these things, it's like people that are in depression are living in the past of what happened, of this is where I was, or this happened to me, or whatever. And people that are in anxiety are living in the future. So living in the now and remembering the past is good, because you can grow from it, you can write from it, you can make great things happen and expose a lot of things out into the world that bring healing. But being in the now and taking advantage of what you've experienced helps you plan for the future, but you don't need to like obsess about it. And when you're caught up either in the past or the future, you can't be right here, right now. You can't be here with me just listening. You might be listening right now and thinking about other things. You're not here. You're not here right now. So learning that is a leadership thing of saying like, okay, well, how do I do that? Well, when you start sinking into something or thinking of the future or something, stop. And you get better and better and better at it. Every time that you trip, you get up. Every time you fall, you get up. And those are like very simple. They were like, yeah, that sounds easy, but it's literally a personal challenge or a battle or whatever you want to title it that you have to conquer, so that you understand, okay, I'm in the middle of my why. and my why is defined. Now, the what, which is all the things you have to do to make your why exist or happen or be successful. Being a great pop star requires, and let's just say straight up pop, like mainstream pop, requires I have a choreographer. Well, I have to be a dancer, or I have to, depending on what kind of pop star. There's a lot of, I have to go to dance class every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yes, you do. Oh, but I don't feel like it. Okay, just get those emotions, put them somewhere, realize that you're having the emotion, and then move forward. Like, do what you gotta do to get to where you wanna be. The more you do that, you'll start saying, okay, the feelings are real if I don't wanna do it, but if I really wanna be successful and my why is bigger, you're gonna do it. Mm-hmm. And then before you know it, you learn 2 steps, and then you have 3 steps, and then you have 4. Before you know, you have a whole choreography. You're getting good at it.
Without your why, because I had another conversation with another artist where it was the idea of, like, what do you do when you lack inspiration? And somebody else earlier on the live talked about, you know, what do you do when you're not inspired? What do you do when you're got writer's block or whatever? Your why will be greater than that moment where, because there's going to be moments where you lack inspiration. It's going to happen because there's life. You drive and somebody cut you off and you don't feel like writing a song that day. But when you have your greater why of, no, I want to become a great lyricist,
yeah,
it's going to be a driving force between, you know what, I'm still going to, maybe I don't feel like writing a lyric, maybe I don't feel like sitting down and writing a song, but maybe instead of that, I'm going to go read, I'm going to go to the library, or I'm going to go to Half Price Books, and I'm going to go pick up Shakespeare sonnets, and I'm going to just read through them. Mm-hmm. And that's when you don't have those moments of inspiration, which they're going to happen, it's going to happen. For me, a lot of times when I don't feel inspired to make something, I'll listen to music, or I'll go watch videos of somebody else making something, and that might also inspire me. Or I'll do busy work of, okay, well, I'm going to work on this track and clean up this track that I've been working on, and I just need to clean it up, or I just need to mix it, and that might inspire something else, but my why hasn't changed. Right. And that continues to be that driving force. So again, all of today was really about, we're going to continue to do these, and there's going to be a lot of the what's, like the what's and the how's. How do we do that? How do I do this? But with this series, especially today, we really wanted to start with the question that maybe in your eagerness to jump into a music career or into a creative field, maybe you skipped the why. And that's so important. That's so important to have your why and be around people that know their why and push each other to continually ask yourself, is that my why?
And I think, and going back to the whole, just to kind of, before we close, is the why is affected by the thought process. And if your thought process is all over the place, you're not going to define the why, like plain and simple. Levels of insecurity, levels of fear, levels of doubt, and that interrupts your drive. That interrupts, like, oh man, I'm not gonna post this because it's not perfect. And I put out a post yesterday about perfection. There's no such thing about perfection. Like, so if you're wanting the perfect feed, if you're scared that the lighting wasn't right, or that you look like this, or or you said this, just do it. Like, there's so many layers to that, because the fear is a huge thing, insecurity is a huge thing, but those are stemming from deeper roots, and that's why mental health is very important, because you when you get to the root of knowing, even in that, why this is happening, you can give it the attention it deserves, and all these other things won't be interrupted. Because I've seen it over and over and over again for the past 15 years with artists that I've developed. Like, honestly, I think there's only been like 3 artists that I've ever worked with that don't stop, and they'll put out stuff consistently. And it's the same thing when I talk to the other ones that don't. It's just like, well, I don't know. I don't think I'm ready. And you're never gonna be ready. Never gonna be. You're like, even for me personally, putting myself out there, I had Trey, one of my good friends, and he's a bodybuilder and everything, and he has this whole series of eating healthy and all this other stuff, and he's a choreographer as well. He's like, I need you to start putting out videos, and I'm like, yeah, let me just lose some weight, let me just do this, like, oh, it's like, no, just do it, and it's gonna also push you to be better, because if you're talking about something, it's gonna remind you of how much better you need to be as well. And it's a constant mirror. People are mirrors, but what you say is a mirror. So the leadership portion of your career, which whatever vein you're gonna get into, whether you're a manager, producer, whatever, that leadership portion has to be rock solid, and that has to come with an even kill. So like, you constantly are learning, you're constantly executing, you're constantly producing, you're constantly leading, and finding time to rest and disconnect, and all of these things that as a person, as a whole life, you should have, you find time to enjoy. And I like what Joel said here. Joel Ibanez said, some people fall in love with the idea of what that career is, but don't like the process that it takes to get there. And when you know your why, the process is endurable, and those are the have tos. And then when you get to your get to, which is the fame, or being on a big stage, or whatever that is, or being in the big room in the studio in Capitol Records, whatever that is, when you get there, you look back at your trajectory and say, like, you know what? If I would not have fixed this emotionally, if I would not have fixed my disciplines, if I would not have fixed my consistency, I would never be here. So learn. If you don't even know what I'm talking about, start buying books. Start there. Look for someone that you feel is like, man, that person's always got a good attitude. They've always, and believe me, I don't always have a good attitude. I fight myself all the time, and I'm putting myself out there again. Why? Because I grew up in a household that maybe I didn't have the most positive environment all the time. It wasn't a bad environment. I love every one of my family members. I learned so much from my family. I love my family. I love my mom. Best friends now. But growing up, it was different, and I was young, and a lot of the times I raised myself, so I did whatever I wanted. And doing that for so many years made me a person that later on in life, I said, I don't want to be that person. And I had one friend, Landon Robinson, one of my best friends in life right now, love you, bro, that said, you're so negative. Like, literally just told me, and he's like, you need to fix that. And I was like, at that moment, I felt two feelings. Like, first of all, I was like, what are you talking about? My second feeling was, who are you to tell me anything? And then my third feeling was like, oh, I really care about this person, and this person is actually spitting a fact into my life. Now I can choose to swallow the bitter pill and make it allow it to make me feel better. And that's why you need good friends that are really honest with you and don't let them go. As bad as it feels, I did not like that. To this day, he just got married, and I went to the wedding, and great. It just, I may not see him for like 3-4 months, but it's like if it didn't stop. And if I would have cut that off, I wouldn't be a better person, and I wouldn't seek wise counsel, and I wouldn't align myself to great people, and I wouldn't read the books that I read. And I had already been reading, but he just affirmed things, as a friend, that made me realize I need to work on being more positive. So one of the things that I did, simple technique, was I'm gonna try to not use the word no. And so when someone asks me something, I don't like to say, no, we're not gonna do that. I like to say, okay, that's a great idea. How can we make that better? Or how do you think that can benefit us? Or how do you think we can monetize? Is that the best thing to do in this season. All those sentences don't have the word no. However, it gives back the person the idea of, I need to think this through, or I need to think it better. And that's a very difficult thing for a lot of people. So those are just things that I think for me in my journey, I wish I'd have learned this at 16, 15, because it would have saved me a lot of time. But mental health is a huge world, and I'm not a psychiatrist. I've just sometimes feel like one, because in songwriting, there's so much emotions being spilt, and I songwrite with a lot of people. There's so many emotions being spilt. There's so much reality being spilt that whenever you get in that room, it's literally a tomb. Like, and what I mean by that is like, whatever you say here, it doesn't leave here. And I hear so many things. I've heard things that, sometimes scare me, and some things that change my life in my course because of what I'm hearing. I've heard things that bubble up passions and a love for something that I was completely unaware of. And that's one of the reasons of my whys of why I do this, is because I love hearing stories. I love helping people. I love making, and I think in itself, you're putting something, when I write with someone, we're putting something out that's unique, that's never been out there, because everyone's story is different. And no story is better than another one. All of them are amazing and great and beautiful. And when you realize that, you will operate differently, and you will operate in that. So all these things that we said today, defining your why, and being very intentional of life and how you go about it is so important. What was that second thing? How do you define your why? Align yourself with people. Get to know yourself. Be okay with the things that you don't like and you have to do for that journey. Go out into the forest. Yeah. Go out into the edge of the world, and be okay with coming back saying, hey, that wasn't it. I didn't like that, but I learned a few things along the way.
And what is my why versus somebody else's why? Mm-hmm. And that, and this is just one little thing that I was going to piggyback off the mental health thing, is you're not comparing your why to somebody else's why, because that will also really get in your head. And that's also a huge thing with mental health, where you're comparing your why. Something that I just saw with Chris Taylor that wrote in the comments, where it was like, when you're trying to be an artist, that where your goal isn't to be a superstar or have mass appeal. And Chris Taylor is an incredibly creative individual, and he does what he does, and he's very focused at what he does. And I see the joy that what he does is very specific. And when that brings you joy, and it's what you like, what you're good at, what you're successful at, and is unique, not stopping to compare yourself to somebody else's why, because that's going to pull you out of, when those four things align, and then you pull yourself out of that into, well, that's not what that person is doing. That's a dangerous place to be. And that goes also back to, having your friends that are like, no, what you're doing, stay there. It's what you like, you're good at it, you're successful at it, and it's unique. Mm-hmm. Stay there. Right. It's okay not to be that person. It's okay not to look exactly like what that other person looks like, because they've got their own why. So, yeah.
So, first of all, this has gone a little bit longer than I wanted to. I think we're a little bit over an hour, but it's okay, because I think these topics are very important. If you know somebody that, like an artist, that you should, man, everything I heard, that person should have heard this, or that person, like, honestly, this is going to be a deep well of information where people can dive in. This is the very first live that'll turn into a YouTube video that is going to help people. Like, I guarantee you why, because I do this on a daily basis. John does it on a daily basis. We've done this for like 15 years. And all the aha moments that a lot of our artists have every time we have talks, I'm like, I wish I had a camera to put this out there, because it'd be great, not just for that person, but I'm sure for a lot of artists. So if you know someone, send them this link. Send them the link once it's out. We'll be posting it out. Tag them on our thing. Tell them why they should subscribe, because there's gonna be more of this. I call it like spits of wisdom, wise counsel, whatever you want to title it. We're just gonna share experiences, and I'm gonna put myself out there. John's putting himself out there during these, and we'll put out stories of things we've learned along the way with people. We
Might play some intakes on.
we might not say the name unless they give us. I'll say the name if it's a positive, like today. But if it's a challenge that I've experienced with an artist, I'm never gonna say their name because I want to respect them. But it is something that I want to share with people because I feel that, again, like what John said at the very beginning, is you think you're alone, but you're not.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going through the same thing and wish they had this type of talk in person. And since we can't be with 1,000 artists, I said, John, man, we need to just do this and put stuff out there. So if you guys have great ideas and great comments about what we talked about today, put them down in the comments. Send us an email. Call us, DM us, send us a DM through Instagram. We would love to hear how this impacted you, because for me, I don't really care about putting out another video into the world, but I know that everyone has a circle and everyone has a reach. And if we can help just one person, if we could help just you, even with a thought process or a learning experience or an encouragement, I personally want to hear specifically from you, because it'll encourage me that I know that what we're doing is the right thing to do. Because there's already thousands of videos out there, and why add another one to the mix? Well, only because my journey is unique, John's journey is unique, and our circle is unique, and the Creatives Factory family is very, 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 very much a true thing. What this space has turned into has been sometimes a community. Last night there was 7 or 8 people just doing different things and filming here and producing there and having meetings here. And I love that, because that's what happens in a family. Sometimes someone's upstairs, someone's watching a movie, someone's cooking, and that's how the vibe is. So if you had anything positive or good that you heard today that encouraged you, I would love to hear it. And if you give us permission to share that, maybe in our next live we can share that as well. Again, tag an artist, subscribe to the YouTube, because this is going to hit that eventually, and share.
And you can find all of that info you can follow us on, maybe somebody tagged you and you came here, so make sure you're following us on Instagram. But then also make sure you check out our website at The Creatives. Don't forget the S, thecreativesfactory.com. And you can search for us on YouTube as well. We've got a lot of other great videos helping with other music industry stuff like publishing and that kind of stuff. There's also other videos that we've got there from our artists, and you can see some of the things that we've done, and we can share that with you. And we would also love to see what you're doing, and you can share your journey with us. And we just love to build this network of creatives that are doing their thing, and that we can celebrate, and that we can all grow together, and we can help you grow, you can help us grow, and we can all just enjoy our why. So
Thank you for checking us out. Conversations for Creatives every Friday right here at noon. We'll see you next week.